According to feminists, we live in a culture that excuses, tolerates, condones, and even normalizes rape. We don't. And people need to stop throwing the term rape culture around. I might as well debunk the idea. First, let's target the term rape culture. There's this article that cleverly destroyed the idea of rape culture by looking up the definition of the word culture and applying it to the feminist idea of rape culture. I can't remember what the article was called, but I wanted to credit it anyway. For now, let's just look at the word culture. According to the Oxford English Dictionary, culture is defined as the distinctive ideas, customs, social behavior, products, or way of life of a particular nation, society, people, or period. Alright then, do we practice rape as a way of life? No. Do our customs, products, and ideas revolve around rape? No. Does our social behavior involve rape? No. That right there destroys the idea of rape culture, and all I needed was logic. And if you're going to point to history to prove your point, then you better stop there. Just because there wasn't initially a law against rape does not mean that it was condoned. There wasn't a law against slavery at first, but some people still had an issue with it. Also, no, it was never legal for a man to rape or beat his wife. Strike one, feminists. Actually, I don't want to use strikes because they are cliched to me. I'll use fails instead. Fail one, feminists. Secondly, let's target the examples people use to support the idea of rape culture. A notable one is the infamous rape case in Steubenville, Ohio. A teenage girl was drunk, and two football players from Steubenville High School raped her and, along with some other students, posted the event on social media. Apparently, the football coach tried to cover up for the rapist's actions. Some people believe that was because he thought that rape was okay, but I think it goes deeper than that. I mean, think about it. A football coach tried to cover for his players. That implies to me that these players were so important for his football team to succeed that if they were punished, his team would suffer. Even if he really did think that rape was okay, it's still an extreme example. There were some people who pitied the rapist, but again, it's an extreme example. Exceptions do not disprove rules. In fact, they do the exact opposite. Another example that feminists use to support the idea of rape culture is the idea that if you tell a woman not to get raped, you're blaming her. That's silly. Telling people to take personal responsibility for their own safety is not victim blaming, it's self-preservation. Don't get raped doesn't mean it's your fault. The funny thing here is that no one uses the same logic when it comes to other crimes like theft and murder. Because we don't live in a theft culture or a murder culture. I guess Girl Writes What was right when she said that people's brains stop working the moment the topic of discussion is about women. Because feels. Of course, feminists can think of even more examples that supposedly support the notion of rape culture, as if that totally doesn't reek of confirmation bias. Unfortunately, some of the examples that feminists use aren't actually examples, and the ones that are still fail to address the fact that rape is so hated that it rivals murder in that category. Fail too, feminists. Thirdly, let's address the feminist solution of the rape culture problem. According to people like Zerlina Maxwell,
if you train men not to grow up to become rapists, you prevent rape.
This claim is obviously sexist and offensive, but let's analyze it logically. First of all, that will never work. Most criminals know that what they're doing is wrong, but they do it anyway. So I doubt that teaching them what they already know and don't care about will be effective. I'm not saying that we should stop teaching people not to do bad things, but feminists need to stop making problems seem worse than they actually are. Secondly, newsflash feminists, humans have this thing called a frontal lobe. The part of our brain that's responsible for decision making and judgment? No man in his right mind would ever want to victimize a woman, or anyone else for that matter. Only someone with a defective or impaired frontal lobe would engage in rape and even possibly normalize it. In fact, there are people who already do that, and we call them sociopaths and psychopaths. This is proof that feminists generally have no understanding of human psychology, or any science, for that matter. Fail 3, feminists. Log out, bitches and bastards. You're done! In all seriousness, the only rape culture that exists is the one against men and boys. After all, if a woman rapes a man, it's funny, and if boys get raped by women...
That ain't no rape. That ain't no statutory rape. That's just a good time.
Also, I know that there are some feminists who know that what they're saying is nonsense, but they say it anyway because they have an agenda. However, the vast majority of the rest of the feminists are incredibly misguided. In conclusion, there is no rape culture here in the West. Anyway, that's all I have to say on the topic. I will see you all later. Goodbye.